What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video I'm diving into the Ultra League with one of my all-time favorite teams. It's going to be Tapu, Fini, Charizard, and Armored Mewtwo. If you don't have Armored Mewtwo, as I know a lot of you don't, hopefully it comes back one day, but instead you guys could probably use Giratina Altered there on the safe swap, maybe with Shadow Claw as the fast move instead of Dragon Breath. And that could fulfill somewhat of the same roles that Armored Mewtwo does. But Tapu, Fini, and Charizard, such a strong core in this meta. You just have to watch out for Ampharos. That is the core breaker of this team, but I don't see it too often. And we were able to beat one today. And this team was able to help me climb 200 rating, get back to Veteran, which is really nice. So able to climb out of Ace and get to Veteran with this team. So let me know what you guys think, and let's go and get right into the battles. All right, getting into the first one. We got a really solid set of battles today. Virizion, right? Bad lead, but Armored Mewtwo, great safe swap in this situation. Confusion damage, super effective, and we draw out a Registeel. This is ideal. We have Dynamic Punch. That does quite a bit of damage. Now, this is an XL Registeel, so this Dynamic Punch isn't going to do that much. It's still going to do quite a bit. And it actually forces a shield, which is pretty huge in this situation because we are Armored Mewtwo decked out top to bottom. Zap Cannon doesn't do that much to us either. Now, unfortunately, we did get the attack debuff, but we will be able to land another Dynamic Punch here. And this is what's so cool about Armored Mewtwo is the coverage that it has, as it can still do quite a bit of damage as we get the Registeel to 50%. Now, this is the interesting situation for us, where we're going to go down, boom, but Tapu Fini here can get a lot of energy. Everyone, Tapu Fini with energy is a threat to Virizion because of Moonblast, and we have a 2-to-1 shield advantage. Now, granted, I will shield this Zap Cannon, and unfortunately my attack dropped, but I'm just going to load up as much as I can and look to go for the Surf here to get rid of the Registeel. And then we're going to go straight into Charizard. So Registeel does go down. We go straight into Charizard, and they're staying in. This is an obvious tell that this could be a Stone Edge, so I will respect the boom. And it was, in fact, Stone Edge. That's huge, as they do decide to swap into Shadow Steelix now. This is another huge opportunity for us. Not only can we do super effective damage with Blast Burn, but we can farm down with Tapu Fini. So, we're going to go ahead and safely tank this charge move right here. It is going to be the Breaking Swipe. And then Blast Burn here is just going to do so much damage. It is lowered because of Breaking Swipe, but overall, this is a very good situation for us because now hopefully I can get to another one, but I don't think I'll get there in time, so I'm going to go ahead and go for the Dragon Claw. But remember, my Tapu Fini was like maxed out on energy, and I used a, I'll have to come in and farm down, but I used a Surf on the Registeel. But this is perfect because I'm going to be able to outpace. They did decide to go for Psychic Fangs. Virizion comes back in, and we have the Moonblast ready to go. This is going to be enough damage to KO right here. Boom! Down it goes, and we Water Gun down the Steelix. So that is going to be a good game. Very well played. Alright, moving into the next one. We have Tapu Fini versus Jellicent, another core breaker of this team. Probably a tougher core breaker to handle than Ampharos. Just because of how bulky it is. Ampharos, at least we can do neutral damage with Water Gun, right? So what we need to do is really dance this team around. I'm going to go ahead and go for a Moonblast here and hope to do as much neutral damage as possible. But my opponent decides to shield, which is very tough. We did get the attack drop, though. So I'm going to go ahead and look to stay in. If they go for Shadow Ball, I mean, so be it, but I decide to no shield, and it was. Dang it. But we barely survive. I counter swap into Mewtwo so I don't get farmed down, and they bring in a Greedent. Now, Greedent here got an upgrade. It got Mudshot as the fast move, and it has access to Crunch. So this is going to be doing quite a bit of super effective damage. But honestly, for a super effective move, that wasn't that much, right? So we're just going to go ahead and go for a Dynamic Punch, and this is what Armored Mewtwo is built for, is doing quite a bit of damage to these tanky Pokemon that you typically see, the Ice, the Normal, the Steels in this meta, as we will give up a shield on this Crunch and hope that I can get to a Psy Strike right here. Let's see, we're going to go ahead and throw. Oh, I threw way too late. I was hoping I could get it in time, but I didn't. So I have to sadly let this go through, and it won't KO us. I could have gotten away there with doing the Side Strike earlier and saving a lot of health. But ultimately, I'm going to undercharge and now look to commit to the farm down so I have energy on the back end here. Now, Jellicent likely coming back in. We're going to go ahead and go for Side Strike, and this actually does quite a bit of damage. Side Strike from Armored Mewtwo is neutral here in this situation, and look at that. That is absolutely beautiful. Now, it is going to be up to Charizard to close this game out. Peekaboo, we caught the move right there. Peekaboo is one of the best plays that you can do in these kinds of situations. That means coming in with Charizard, counter swap into Tapu Fini to soak the Surf. Excuse me. And we're going to go ahead and shield and then look to try to go for a Dragon Claw here to get rid of the Jellicent. And if they shield, then I have a feeling they are extremely weak in the back. So now they decide to throw the Surf, which is fine. I can commit to the farm down from this range. They can't get to another Surf in time. So they went for Shadow Ball instead, but it's a Virizion in the back. You love to see it. You thought this game was over, but no. Charizard coming in clutch right here. Boom! Nearly one-shots. We fast move down, and that is going to be a good game. Very well played. Alright, moving into the next one, we have Tapu Fini versus Blastoise. So, Blastoise, really cool Pokemon, my favorite starter of all time. So, Team Squirtle over here. But in this kind of situation, we can't really swap out, right? There's no point to, because Charizard does not want to see the Blastoise and Water Gun. Plus, it's all resisted damage, and we have neutral damage here with Moonblast. So this is actually very ideal for us because we can get ourselves shield advantage like we do right there. Now, in order for Tapu Fini to potentially win this game, we have to land the Moonblast, and we have to hope that it does do enough damage, which might come down to IVs. So we're going to go ahead and try to go for it. We get there just in time. Now, let's see if Blastoise survives. If it does, oh, that's unfortunate. They will be able to Water Gun us down. So now we're just going to safely come in with Mewtwo and soak the Hydro Cannon right here. So this is perfectly fine. No worries here. It's not going to do that much damage. And we have 2-to-1 shields. They have a Clefable in the back, so I'm going to go ahead and swap to Charizard, thinking Blastoise was their only answer, and sure enough, it was. So Charizard in this matchup here against Talonflame is going to be able to easily take it with the 2-to-1 shield advantage that we do have. And they decide to no shield, which is fine. I'm going to respect Brave Bird, obviously. I got 2 shields. There's no reason why I should be letting anything through. It was the Brave Bird, which is going to easily allow me to throw Dragon Claw here. And if they decide to shield, well, then I farm down and Blast Burn the Clefable, right? So that is going to be a good game. Unfortunately, Clefable not going to be able to have enough damage in order to win this one. Remember, I still have a healthy Armored Mewtwo with Confusion, which absolutely chunks. They decide to let it go, and this is going to be a good game. This is Charm, by the way, Fast Move instead of Fairy Wind. So we're going to go ahead and shield and then just Fast Move down. But unfortunately for my opponent, that Blastoise was their only real answer to Charizard, and with a 2-to-1 shield advantage, we take those games. So good game. Alright, moving to the next one, we got Tapu Fini versus Giratina Altered here. So, we do have Moonblast, but the tough thing about this matchup is you have to land it. Now, they swap into Cresselia. So what I'm going to try to do is catch the Grass Knot, but unfortunately, I mistimed it right there. I should have swapped. So now we got to let this go through. And then we're going to build up to Moonblast and then swap out into Charizard. That way we have the Moonblast ready to go. And in this matchup, Charizard is your Cresselia answer, right? When it comes to Armored Mewtwo and Tapu Fini, those are a bit more difficult because you're doing either neutral or resisted. And you take super effective damage on Tapu Fini. So we're going to go ahead and go for Blast Burn right here. In these matchups, you want to try to come out of here, especially since we know it's Giratina Altered on the lead. You want to come out of here with energy. That way you can land a Dragon Claw on the back end. So we're going to try to do that as we go for the Dragon Claw. Now this should do enough damage to take out the Cresselia. It's relatively low here. And we do take it. Perfect. So now we have a switch advantage. We have 2-2 shields, but we do have energy on Charizard, so I'm going to go ahead and go for one Dragon Claw, and my hope is that I can get to a second one, but honestly, I think I'm pretty low, where they might just be able to Shadow Claw me down, and that is the case. Unfortunately, not able to get to it. Now, I do have Moonblast, and they make a beautiful swap right away, but they swap into Ampharos here, which is going to tank the Moonblast, and this opens the door for Armored Mewtwo to Confusion down. This is huge right here, and this is why Armored Mewtwo actually does pretty well against the Ampharos, is because of just the raw Confusion damage. As you guys can see, we get the full farm down. Now we have a disadvantage in terms of shields, but we have a big advantage in terms of health and energy, as Psystrike now is going to be getting shields, and Armored Mewtwo can put in some work here against Giratina Altered, if I'm being completely honest. So I'm going to give it my final shield, as they do have Shadow Sneak, as Psystrike is just going to do so much damage, and because we are so tanky as well, the Shadow Claw and Psystrike Shadow Sneak combination just isn't going to be enough. Now I counter swap into Tapu Fini here to force them to throw energy, because they decided to let the charge move go through, that there's nothing they can do. Shadow Sneak not going to be enough to take us out. They have to throw back to back, otherwise I water gun them down, and then that is going to be a good game, as we can go ahead and go for Confusions here to close this one out. So good battle right there. Alright, moving into the next one, we have Tapu Fini versus Pidgeot. Okay, so with Pidgeot leads, typically we see an answer to steals in the back, so I wouldn't be surprised if there is a Cobalion or a Virizion, sometimes both, maybe a Swampert as well, or Poliwrath. We got to start thinking on those terms. So having Armored Mewtwo is huge. Now they decided to shield the Surf, which is actually very big for me, because now I'm reading, you know what, they might be weak. Now, it could be Steelix as well. This is kind of went through my head when I was doing this battle, is if they shield a Pidgeot with Tapu Fini lead, maybe they have Steelix in the back, because it's such a good answer, which I'm totally fine with, right? When we have Charizard and Armored Mewtwo, we have Blast Burn and Dynamic Punch. We're sitting good. So we're going to go ahead and let all of this go through. I'm going to try to get to another Surf, which I do, and I'm happy to lose lead here, because I did get myself shield advantage. Now, I decide to come in with Charizard to do one wing attack, and then we do see they have a Cobalion in the back, and that's game over. This was their best answer, and as you see, they decided to surrender, so my guess was it was a Virizion. Alright, moving into the next one, we have Tapu Fini versus Giratina Altered once again. Now, this goes a little bit different, and I'm gonna tip my cap to my opponent, because they pulled a me. They pulled the Boom Giratina, right? So when Giratinas are loading up on this much energy, it might be a Shadow Force. So I decided to let it go. It was Dragon Claw. I'm like, okay, they were just baiting me, right? They're just building up all this energy to kind of fake me out. And so I'm just going to let this go. Thinking it's just going to be more Dragon Claws. And no, I got hit with a Shadow Force. Boom! So now I have to go for the Surf to do any extra chip damage. But I am behind now. I am massively behind, as they have energy. They have plenty of health. Even though I have shield advantage, I have to come in with Charizard here and try to do as much damage as possible with Dragon Claw and Wing Attack. And I know they don't have Ancient Power, so I'm okay with no shielding one Dragon Claw. But I might have to shield two. So we're going to go ahead and throw Dragon Claw right here. This isn't going to be enough to take them out. And honestly, yeah, this is such a tough situation, because this Giratina is getting a lot of free health on me because they landed the Shadow Force. So I'm going to go ahead and shield, and then I'm going to commit to the farm down here, as we get plenty of energy. But now they're going to checkmate me. They have a Swampert that comes in, which obviously does beat Charizard, right? But we can still do a lot, and we're going to go ahead and go into Armored Mewtwo. But then they have a, you'll see right here in a second, they have Cresselia in the back. So this is, I should just like top left, right? There's not a lot I can do in this situation, because we're doing resisted damage. And this is the tough thing about Cresselia, is it kind of does well against our team if it's aligned to Armored Mewtwo or Tapu Fini. A lot of the times I've seen Cresselia's safe swaps and Charizard handles that, right? So that's typically what I've seen, but in this case we lost the lead because of the Shadow Force. And now we're kind of chunking the pull toy over there, but ultimately these Moonblasts are going to be adding up, as I will decide to swap out back into Charizard. But this is going to be a good game. Like they decide to come in with Swampert. I go for another Blast Burn here just to do as much damage as possible, and we landed. We almost take it out. I'm like, that was close. If we got the KO right there, we'd be sitting good. I decide to shield Hydro Cannon and farm down. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can get to a Dragon Claw, but they do have a Moonblast ready to go, and unfortunately, this is going to be enough to KO as we do go down, and now I just don't have enough health. Had I survived, or had I taken out the Swampert there with Blast Burn, or survived the Moonblast, we might have been sitting okay, because if I could get one Dragon Claw off on the Cresselia, I think we win. But ultimately, they're going to KO us, and that is going to be a good game. Very well played. All right, moving into the next one. We have Tapu Fini versus Steelix. So, a very positive lead right here for us. Excuse me. And there's a Cresselia safe swap. So, we're going to go ahead and try to catch this one, which I do. I know before I didn't catch the Cresselia, but in this case, or catch the Grass Knot from Cresselia. In this case, I did, which is perfect because I maintain a lot of energy on my Tapu Fini, and I can soak resisted damage here from Cresselia and easily take Switch, as Moonblast isn't going to do that much. Now, you might get caught off guard with a Cresselia that has Future Sight. That is completely possible, but ultimately, I think most Cresselias have Grass Knot and Moonblast. So they decided to shield, so I'm going to go ahead and shield myself, mirror this up. It was just a Grass Knot, that's okay, but I want to come out of here with a lot of energy, and they decided to counter swap back into Steelix, which is interesting because I have Blast Burn. I also have Tapu Fini, which I can catch the charge move on right here, and then I might have to throw a Surf. I don't think I'm going to be able to farm down in time. No, we get it. Okay, perfect. Now we have lots of energy here. Cresselia does decide to come back in. So we're going to go ahead and throw a Surf, see if we get a shield. We don't, so I'm going to go for the Moonblast now because we have it. And typically when you see a Surf thrown and another one thrown right away, you think back to back. But this Tapu Fini had so much that I get a free Moonblast to land. And Grass Knot isn't going to be enough to KO us. But I make the choice to shield right here, thinking I could Water Gun down in time. But unfortunately, I just barely couldn't. I thought I could get it right there, but unfortunately not. As Grass Knot, not enough to take us out though. We do have Cobalion in the back, and that's what's cool about Tapu Fini is its bulk there against Cresselia. The Grass Knot isn't enough to like one-shot, and we're just going to swap into Armored Mewtwo here and take care of the Cobalion because the just the raw damage from Psystrike. I know we have Dynamic Punch. Psystrike is going to do enough anyways when you add in the confusion damage that we will be doing right here. So we're going to go ahead and just go for that. Plus it's a little bit less energy, which is totally fine. It allows us to get to it quicker than 2 Dynamic Punches, right? So we will get the final shield, and then we should be able to do, I think, one more confusion and take out Cobalion. Now, Switch Clock, we got to be watching out for that. It's not there just yet, so they won't be swapping in. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the Psystrike here to KO. And that is going to be a good game, very well played, as we still have all 3 of our Pokemon left. All right, getting into the next battle here, we have Tapu Fini versus Giratina Altered once again. So we want to stay in. We want to look to go for Moonblast. I am cognizant of a potential Shadow Force here. They're building up a lot. I'm going to go ahead and go for Moonblast, but they catch on Registeel, which is very unfortunate because this is a lot of energy wasted, a massive amount. Now I have to go into Charizard right away, and I need to counteract this energy wasted with energy gained on my end here with Charizard. So we go for Blast Burn here. This obviously gets the Registeel low, And now I'm going to shield and farm down. Wing attack, aggressive farm down. If I wasted all of my energy on Tapu Fini, I need to dump the same amount of potential damage, or as much as I can, back into Giratina Altered. So we're going to go ahead and go for Dragon Claw. Now, this only works, right, if they don't have Ancient Power. Ancient Power is a move that it could have access to. They decide to shield, and my hope is that these are just Dragon Claws. So I let it go, and it is going to be Ancient Power. So that nearly one-shots me. They decide to swap out into Steelix, which allows me to get a free Blast Burn here. And then we're just going to come in with Tapu Fini and Water Gun down. Now, this is the tough situation here against Steelix, is there's a lot of health remaining, and I don't think I can Water Gun down in time before I get hit with a potential Earthquake. So we still have Armored Mewtwo. I think that can handle the Giratina regardless. So I'm going to go ahead and look to throw the Surf now before they do get to that Earthquake, because it's critical that I maintain health here on Tapu Fini as we do take out Steelix. And then Giratina Altered coming back in. We know they have Ancient Power. Odds are they have Dragon Claw as well and not Shadow Force. So I let this go, and it is going to be another Ancient Power. Now, obviously, if they get the boost, it might be over. But we do get the Moonblast regardless, and this does a ton of damage where we get the final shield. Switch Clock is coming back up. So I'm going to go ahead and counter swap into Mewtwo as fast as possible, because now I should be able to handle the Giratina Altered in the 1-0 shield situation. They show they do have Shadow Sneak as well, which is totally fine. It's no biggie to me here, because Side Strike and Confusion with the 1-0 shield advantage is going to take it. I can safely shield this next Shadow Sneak and fast move down. So that is going to be a good game, very well played, as they unfortunately won't be able to survive the Mewtwo. Good game. I think that might have been the last battle. Nope, we got another one. All right, Tapu Fini versus Gliscor. Okay, very, very positive lead, and they safe swap into Licky Licky. This is spicy. This is very cool to see. Now, Licky Licky has access to, like, Body Slam, Earthquake, Shadow Ball. There's no Power Whip. So we're going to go ahead and swap into Charizard now after building up to Surf, and then look to go for a Blast Burn to take out the Licky Licky. Now, this is the tough situation for us, is we don't know what Pokemon number 3 is, but what we can determine or have an educated guess on is they had an anti-fighter, excuse me. Sorry, I'm not doing good today. We had a anti-fighter lead with a tank safe swap. So odds are they might have another tank in the back. Something, and what I mean by that, something weak to counter. So we're gonna try, and they go for double shields as well. They really want switch advantage. So we're gonna play to that. We're going to use Armored Mewtwo with Dynamic Punch to try to close this game out. So I will come back in with Tapu Fini. I will give up a shield here. And then, like I said, we're going to try to play with Armored Mewtwo to close this one out. So we're going to go ahead and look to go for a Surf now, maintaining lots of energy still on Tapu Fini, as this should be enough neutral damage. Almost enough. We Water Gun down. And their final Pokemon is an Obstagoon. So our read was correct that there's something else weak in the back to counter, but unfortunately for my opponent Tapu Fini, boom, is the counter to them. We also got the attack drop there on a Pokemon that's already doing resisted damage, so that's going to do nothing. They're going to go ahead and swap out into Gliscor, which allows us to get to the Surf, and they do decide to surrender, so that is going to be a good game, very well played. I think that we got another one. We got another one. All right, Giratina Altered here on the lead. We've seen a lot of them today. We're not going to change the strategy. We're going to look to go for Moonblast, and we're going to fear the Shadow Force. So we're going to go ahead and shield. I'm like, if this is Shadow Force, so be it. It was not. It was an Ancient Power. So now we're really far behind in terms of shields, but we should be able to put some pressure back here with Moonblast, and we do get a shield as well. So now we just got to question, what could they have in the back? If they're so scared of Tapu Fini, first thoughts, maybe a Steelix back there, maybe something weak to Water Gun, so maybe a Fire, maybe a Charizard, maybe a Talonflame. And we're going to go ahead and look to no shield right here. I want to try to get myself the 1-0 shield advantage if I can. So let's see if we can get to it. We do. Perfect. This is a lot of super effective damage as they do decide to shield. So we got the 2-1, or the 1-0, I should say. We swap into Mewtwo, and there was a fire in the back. It makes so much sense. Again, guys, if you guys read what your opponent is doing and not doing, you can make educated guess on what could be in the back. And in this case, it was a Shadow Charizard. The Giratina Altered decided to stay in. It decided to shield twice. There's something weak in the back to Tapu Fini, and we draw it out with Armored Mewtwo and easily take care of it. And there's an Obstagoon. We're going to end with an Obstaboom. Dynamic Punch coming through right here. Ah, boom! Nearly one-shots. It didn't one-shot because it's Armored Mewtwo. It's super tanky, but still, like 80-90% of its health is gone, and we still have Charizard. So I'm going to counter swap into Charizard now, and this is a wrap. I can safely let this, or I don't have any shields left, but I can safely just farm down and Dragon Claw on the back end right here. Now this Giratina Altered does have some energy, so we throw Dragon Claw right away, ensuring that we land the super effective move, and sure enough, they had the charge move ready to go. So this Ancient Power now is going to be taking us out, and this is where things get very, very dangerous. Because I have Armor Mewtwo, we're going to have to Confusion down, and this is, get to that Side Strike, get to the Side Strike, we get it just in time, beautiful. This Side Strike is going to be taking out the Giratina Altered. Switch Clock coming back up. I'm going to go ahead and Confusion down, but they get to the charge move. Don't worry, I got Tapu Fini with Water Gun. We resist counter because of our Fairy typing as we Water Gun down. That's going to be a good game, very well played. Very close one right there, and a very fun one. And overall, this team today did incredibly well for me. Climbed over to... I got another battle. How many did I put in here? Usually I put about like 8 to 10. We got Cobalion. All right, so this is a good lead right here for us, as Cobalion not going to do that much damage. Now, remember what I said in the last game. Read what your opponent is doing and not doing. They're not swapping out of this matchup, and they must be weak in some way. If we think about Cobalion, what it's weak to fighters. So my guess is there might be a fire in the back. So we're going to have to see. As we do decide to now load up on energy, I'm going to shield as well, stopping the potential Stone Edge. And I'm 100% reading a fire in the back, potentially, just because, and they decide to swap into Cresselia, so we come in with Charizard, and there's gotta be a fire in the back. We have a Cresselia safe swap, right, to beat fighters, and they weren't swapping out right away, which means they're core broken. So we're going to try to do our best right here in order to win this game, as Charizard now can do a lot of damage with Blast Burn. And you don't necessarily have to give up shields in this matchup unless they do, but they decide to let it go. So we're going to go ahead and let this one go. We're going to overload just a bit on energy so that we have enough in the back, enough energy on this back end to get off a charge move against Cobalion. So we're going to go ahead and go for the Blast Burn. And if they decide to shield, then obviously I got to go for another Blast Burn right away. But they let it go. They come back in with Cobalion. So I'm actually going to go ahead and go for Dragon Claw to shield bait. Reason being is they're probably going to shield. And secondly, this forces them to throw because I'll be able to get to another one in time. I'll be able to get to another one before they fast move me down. So they take me out with Sacred Sword. I come in with Armored Mewtwo now. Again, reading a fire in the back. But it's not. It's Mandibuzz. It's different. Same, but different, right? They were core broken because of our Fairy typing, not because of our Water typing. So Moonblast is going to be getting a shield. And we're going to be able to get to another one in time. I will let this Aerial Ace go through. They can't fast move me down because it is Snarl. And we should be able to get to another Moonblast, which is going to do plenty of damage. It's actually quite a bit. It's beautiful. We're going to go ahead and shield this Aerial Ace, though. That way we can survive long enough to get off this Moonblast. And then my hope is actually maybe I get to a Surf as well, because like I said, they can't fast move us down. And we'll have to see if we can get it here. They're going to throw. Yeah, they decide to throw. And now it's going to be up to Armored Mewtwo to close this game out. Remember, I have Dynamic Punch, which is neutral damage, so I'm going to go ahead and go for that. But they make a beautiful swap into Cobalion. This is so unfortunate for me. but I have enough health here on Armored Mewtwo where a Mandibuzz is just not going to be able to take me out. This is tank versus tank. I am a Psychic type, but ultimately I'm totally fine. Dark Pulse not going to be enough, as we will go for the Dynamic Punch here, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. So we read the team correctly, but it wasn't because of Water Gun and Surf, it was because of Moonblast. So good game, very well played. And we have, how many done, guys? That's a 30-minute video today. Turn up. Okay, this is definitely the last one. We got Nidoqueen on the lead. This is obviously a tough matchup, both Pokemon doing super effective damage to each other. I don't need to shield the Poison Fang, so I decided to let this go through and then look to go for the Surf to get myself shield advantage. Now, what I have to do is obviously swap out, and swapping out into the Armored Mewtwo is going to be very beneficial because we get ahead on energy and confusion damage chunks. Now they counter swap into Greedent, which is perfect. This is exactly what Armored Mewtwo is built for. It is built to cover the counters to Tapu Fini that we commonly see, and it is built to handle those steals or those normals that come in, or those darks that come in, so that Dynamic Punch can do super effective damage as we get shield number 2. Shield number 2. So this is now making me question things. What are they weak to where Armored Mewtwo deserves a shield on a Dynamic Punch versus a Greedent, giving up the final one? So the only thing that would make sense is a fighter potentially, right? If they're core broken, or Venusaur, something weak to the confusion damage from Armored Mewtwo. So I counter swap into Charizard and they come in with Scrafty. It was a fighter, so they actually weren't weak to confusion in this case. They were weak to Dynamic Punch, but Charizard does not care. Charizard right here, 1-0 shield advantage with Blast Burn. We're going to be taking it. We're also going to no shield the potential foul play, because where we lose is if they power up Punch. We're also going to just farm down. I don't care. And then we're going to watch what they bring in. If it's Nidoqueen, we throw right away. Let's see. Switch Clock is not up for them. It is Nidoqueen, so I'm going to go ahead and throw the Blast Burn right away. If it was Greedent, I fast move down, right? You don't want to throw the Blast Burn into the Greedent. Boom! Down it goes, and we fast move down Greedent, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. That was the final one. I forgot I added. I know I'm just recording this right now, but typically the videos of the teams that I run are about 20 minutes or so. But today's sets were a lot, or yesterday, I did these yesterday. Yesterday's sets were a lot of fun. So I hope you guys enjoy this team. Again, if you guys don't have Armored Mewtwo, try Giratina Altered there with Shadow Claw as the fast move, and then you could go for like Dragon Claw and Ancient Power. Go Shadow Force maybe if you want to be extra spicy. Shadow Force actually I think would work out a bit better, especially for Registeel. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.